Hello once again, and Tony here with a review of The Grand Seduction. The director of this film was Don McKellar. It was produced by Barbara Doran and Roger Papier. It was written by Ken Scott and Michael Dowza, and it stars Brendan Gleeson, Taylor Kitsch, Liana Balaban, Gordon Pinsent, Mark Critch, Mary Walsh, Kathy Jones, and Matt Watts. What was also interesting about this film is that it's a remake of the 2003 Quebec Canadian film Le Grand Seduction, known in English as Seducing Dr. Lewis. Now, I have not seen that film, and maybe I might make a comparison about it, but as for now, I've never seen the original film that it was remade from, so I can't make an opinion on that. But just like this film, just like the previous film that I watched earlier, I had a little bit of a low expectation for this film because, as I've read in Wikipedia and in some other sources, it stated that it garnered some mixed reviews. So I wasn't so sure of how I was going to think about it because even though it had a promising cast, I was not so sure of what I was going to think about it. But when I saw the film, I was just immediately surprised of just how down to earth this is. Just how, well, it was just extremely down to earth. It was a lot more mellow than the previous film that I've watched, which was all quite zany, hilarious, and it was just so, like, quite bizarre at times. But here, it's down to earth, it's mellow, and it does have the occasional laughs, and at times it's still quite fun. So, the story of this film may not be anything, well, new for me. It's not totally groundbreaking, but it's not bad either. It's basically about a man who is in a very unstable moment in his life. He lives in a very rural town. I can't really tell if it's Ireland or Canada because, well, basing on the accents of the movie and also the main actor, Brendan Gleeson, who is, well, Irish, a lot of them seem to have Irish accents. So I think it's safe for me to say that I think it's like either an Irish community in Canada or what have you. It's never really specified, but, well, going to the story, it basically tells the story about one man who is trying his hardest to save the village from plummeting any further. And, well, he also needs a doctor because, well, healthcare there is totally non existent. So he tries his hardest to make all of these schemes so that, well, not for him, but for the good of his town. So this is one of those stories in which we have a protagonist trying to make things right with very unorthodox ways and ways that might end up getting him into trouble with either the law or with another higher power. So, yeah, like I said, it's not really that groundbreaking, but it's not bad. It's a lot of fun, and the comedy definitely helps. And there are also some touching moments, especially between Paul and the main guy whose name is Murray. Yeah, Murray. There are a lot of touching moments between Murray and Paul, which I'll get to the characters later. And the cinematography really, like, it really heightened that down to earth feeling. It didn't need any jump cuts or like switch, excuse me, swift transitions. It was very mellow, it was very pleasing to my eyes, and not to mention that the locations that were shot was just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, everything from the terrain to the sea, just everything was just totally gorgeous. The characters are also very interesting. Murray, who is our main hero, is a very flawed character. His marriage with his wife, wasn't really that going that well. So his wife, well, basically has to support the family by getting a job, and well, he doesn't even have children. Well, he did have one son, but unfortunately passed away, which is also quite tragic for him. And what he goes through is quite of a development for him. So he tries his hardest to take responsibility, not just for his actions, but to make the town of Ticklefeet a lot better. It was just that interesting seeing someone who's not so heroic. I mean, we've seen a lot of other characters before, and sure, his characterization is not anything that's deep, but he's also someone who's very sympathetic. He's absolutely worthy of my sympathy, even though his methods do come off as extremely unorthodox and at times can come off as quite deceitful. But still, he tries his hardest, he perseveres as much as he can, and he has that never give up attitude that I definitely admire in him. And Paul is an interesting character as well. He is a doctor, well, basically trying to live his dream as a doctor, his main passion as a doctor. He works very hard in his field, yet he also has a very sad backstory. He doesn't have a father in his life. And every time I see Murray and Paul get together and bond, I just get so touched. I almost felt like I was about to bawl every time I see these two characters pair up and just, well, pair up like, father and son, even though they're not biologically father and son. It's like they get to know each other on a very personal level, and their chemistry, it just has that father and son like feel to it. It is so genuine and it doesn't feel so forced. It just comes off as natural, and it's really cool and really touching to see both of these characters work off of each other. And one of the main leading ladies, one of the leading ladies who is, let me see, Kathleen, is quite interesting, but doesn't really have a lot of screen time. And I could already tell from the beginning that Paul laid his eyes on her that they might end up becoming a couple. And it was absolutely obvious because, well, I already knew from the start that Paul's relationship with Helen was not going to work. And Simon is definitely a very loyal friend. Henry is someone who tries his hardest to stick well by the book, and that's all I can say about the characters. All the characters in this movie are all quirky, very colorful, and very likable, each with their own traits of genuine likability and warmth, and just full of humor, and they just spark with life. They all are just full of life, full of energy, and what more can you ask from such a quirky yet very touching cast of characters? And the acting is very solid all around. The standout for me was none other than Taylor Kitsch as Paul. He has this type of charm in this character that he gives. He was able to also show some human sides, and he's not just a pretty face in this movie. He's someone who tries his hardest in his job, in his profession, his vocation, so to say, as well his character who's playing a doctor. So he tries to really put in a lot of effort and heart, and it's so there. He was able to make Paul not just another pretty face, but someone that I could root for, someone that I can sympathize with, because, well, he's not really that aware that what he got himself into was probably a huge lie set up by Murray, but still, the bond that he had with Brendan Gleeson's character, like I said, was one of the most touching that I've ever seen. Their chemistry really works, and Brendan Gleeson as Murray is also quite touching. He was able to play Murray's very determined, very like gung ho nature, but is also able to make him quite human. His character is so flawed, but he's totally relatable. He wants to dream big, yet at times he goes through many unorthodox ways to do it, and Brendan Gleeson surely brings out the best in his character. Leanne Balaban, who plays Kathleen, is able to give Kathleen that snarky and very direct manner, and she was actually pretty good at her job at this role. Gordon Pinsent as Simon was able to be that hilarious. I mean, he was just pretty hilarious to watch on screen, and his chemistry with Gleeson was absolutely rollicking. And then we have Mark Critch as Henry. He was able to play Henry's only sane man nature very well. And when push comes to shove, he definitely shows his determined side. So there was definitely a lot of solid acting. And the music, it really reflects the film's down to earth nature. It usually composed of guitars playing, some strings, and some quiet pieces. So the music really suits the down to earth nature of this film. So overall, even though I have not seen the original film, Le Grand Seduction, or known in English as Seducing Dr. Lewis, I will have to say that as a standalone film, it definitely has its merits, even though the story doesn't really have anything unique to offer, but it's still full of charm, wit, and just pure great comedy. The characters are very likable, very quirky, and very colorful, and the acting is absolutely superb. So I'm going to give this film a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is definitely worth it. And it's quite a shame that this film hasn't been nominated for the Oscars. Sure, it has been nominated for like awards in Canada and has won one. But like I said, if this comes out on DVD, then by all means go ahead and check it out. If it's streaming on any internet site, then by all means go ahead and check it out. If it's showing in your local theaters, then just go ahead and check it out. You will not be disappointed when it comes to such great performances by Gleeson and Kitsch. And also Balaban. Everyone gave their all, and well, even though this is a remake of a film from 2003, even though it's something I've never seen, I have to say that I'm sure that if some people are going to judge it as a remake, I'm sure that they're going to say it's pretty good. As for me, as a standalone film, I have to say it's pretty good. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow where I review Mozart's Don Giovanni starring Ildebrando D'Arcangelo and Luca Pisaroni. So until then, this is Antoni signing off and wishing you all a good night.